So now the question, of course, kind of becomes like about the XM8. Like, what was really the result of that rifle? Because, again, it was barely functioning pieces in the 70s, and it didn't really get development until the 80s when they had to slap it onto a thing. And even with the weapons program, the scope and the grenade launcher that they had built was more developed than the rifle itself. Uh, but it was somewhat of a decent design, apparently, because it didn't run into as many problems as one might expect. Uh, so really that 1996 period when the U.S. government goes, we don't want the XM29 after all. That's really when that rifle actually gets its full development cycle, is that 6-year period. And then it comes around in 2002, and then by 2005, of course, the U.S. gets back to them and they don't want it. Now, one might wonder why they didn't want it, and well, it was a weapon that would have been revolutionary in the 70s if H&K just fucking went for it, gave it its full development, and by the 80s, it would have been amazing. But again, for market reasons, they didn't do that. And by the time 2005 rolls around, now you have the FN SCAR. SIG is, I believe, working on the SIG Sauer, which would come to fruition a couple years later. You have these really good rifles that are just better, and as far as the XM8 being better than the M4, only very marginally, and only in the larger sizes. And a lot of our troops were basically having these cut down M4s because, well, they were carrying M4s with them in the car, on the toilet. They just, it was doctrine to have that rifle with them 24/7. And so these guys were not wanting a full-size rifle or even a rifle that was longer, especially the XM8, where it has the same issue as the FNFAL, where the muzzle recoil actually fights downwards rather than upwards because of the rifle's weight. Even with a polymer frame and everything, it still was kind of forward heavy. So the troops just weren't interested, and the brass wasn't interested, and the government was tired of spending money on the same rifle from all the way back when. And Congress was really starting to scrutinize and crack down on the military at the time in terms of spending.